For the first time, the two top Republicans in Congress are officially backing Mitt Romney's presidential campaign.
Speaker of the House John Boehner and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell endorsed Romney on Tuesday, more than a year after the 2012 campaign began.
And after that announcement, Speaker Boehner sat down with us at the Capitol for his first national interview since Romney became the presumptive GOP nominee. You endorsed Mitt Romney today. How much damage did the primary campaign do to his the election that he faces?
I don't think there was any real damage done. It got messy, just like the race 4 years ago between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. It went on until June of 2008. Charlie, this election is going to be a referendum on the president's economic policies. They've not only not helped the economy, they've actually made it worse.
What's the debate going to be? What we've just been talking about?
No, it's going to be over the president's economic policies, pure and simple. They've made matters worse. America should be doing a lot better today. But when you look at his calls for higher taxes, his refusal to deal with the debt, the regulatory regime here in Washington out of control, they've scared every business person and investor in America. That's why you see record amounts of cash in these businesses in banks, because they don't know what tomorrow is going to look like.
No one doubts that you're not in touch, not only with the constituents you have in Ohio, but generally, you're that kind of guy. Is Mitt Romney that kind of guy? He's had a very different lifestyle from you.
Listen, we're all different. We have different personalities.
Can he be in touch? Does he need to figure out a way to have the same kind of visceral appeal?
I think he's done a good job in a Republican primary under some very difficult circumstances. And I think he's prepared for this general election and will appeal to more than half of America. But after any primary, there's always a little retooling, always some adjustments in terms of now you have a different opponent. And so I think you'll see some new things out of this campaign.
Like what?
A real focus on what the election is going to be about.
Well, you know, he's
economics.
Well, he's pulled back from this the other day in a closed meeting. He talked about perhaps abolishing HUD as well as the Department of Education, and talked about eliminating the mortgage deduction for second homes.
Well, there was a lot of things said there. All right, we've got to make choices, and we shouldn't criticize candidates because they're talking about the big choices that we have to make. When you have a $1.3 trillion budget deficit, you have to do something.
The president would say to you, if you said that to him and your friends, this is going to be a referendum on the Ryan budget, because the speaker has even said it's a vision of what we want to do.
The president's going to try to make the election about anything other than his failed economic policies, because he can't run on his record. And so they're gonna pull out every boogeyman they can. And the fact is that we've got a serious problem. That's why Republicans have a plan for America's job creators to put Americans back to work.
Do you think the Ryan plan is the way to do that? Because the Governor Romney has clearly made it at one with him.
Somebody in this town has to own up to the problems that we face.
And that budget does it.
And that budget does it. Now, if the president doesn't like that budget, where's his budget? His budget failed on the floor of the House, 0 to 414. Not one Democrat or one Republican voted for the president's budget. Why? Because he wasn't serious about dealing with America's problems.
The Catholic bishops today said that the Ryan budget fails to meet moral criteria and disproportionately cuts programs that serve the poor and the vulnerable, which sounds like the president.
I understand. Listen, when you look at the budget choices that we have to make, it's time that Congress and Washington and the president quit kicking the can down the road and address our challenges. I don't believe that our budget will hurt the poor in any way. I don't think it will hurt the safety net in any way. But we can't continue to spend money that we do not have.
Why cannot two people who are friends come to some understanding on this grand bargain and make it happen because of the American people want it to happen?
I sat for months with the president. He wanted revenue. I said, Mr. President, I'll put revenue on the table that we can achieve out of fixing our tax code. But the only way I'll do that is if you're willing to have real fundamental reform of our entitlement programs. And the fact is we had an agreement. And then 2 days later, the president decided he wanted $400 billion of more revenue, which was, in effect, $400 billion
Yet
tax.
at the same time, the two of you came to an agreement in your mind that was acceptable.
Until he lost his courage.
Lost his courage?
He lost his courage.
He couldn't face what?
Why did he blow the deal up?
What did he tell you?
He needed more revenue, needed more revenue. He lost his courage.
Will anything happen between now and the election?
I would hope so, but I'm not optimistic. The president checked out last Labor Day. All he's done is campaign full-time for the last 6 months. He has not been engaged in the legislative process at all. There's been no effort at trying to work with Democrats and Republicans to address this issue at all. And it's shameful.
If he's able to change the emphasis to the future, or to the Ryan plan, or to Governor Romney,
The
will
American
he win
people,
if he prevents it from being a referendum?
The American
itself?
people vote with their wallets. They have for the history of our country, and it's not going to change.
Sounds like Ohio wisdom to me.
That's it.